All right now, yes. What's up? What's up, my Facebook family? Oh yeah, I was jamming to that, y'all. Y'all know why? Because every time I hear that intro, that my son did the intro for me. Shout out to my son, Martrell Lane, DJ Monster Productions. Yes, every time I'm jamming to that. That was good. I love that intro, y'all. I love it. He did that for his mama. Thank you, baby. But anyway, yes, welcome. Y'all come on in here. Welcome everybody. Come on in here. I'm Miss J, your host. My co-host is Miss Janet Brown. She still is under the weather from some a food poisoning incident. So y'all, let's just keep her up in prayer. That's why she's not here. She would have loved to be here, but she's still not feeling good, and I can understand that. But y'all welcome on in here to Miss J Speaks Talk Show and Podcast. Y'all share this out. Y'all look, if you're watching and it's red up there, you're watching me live. Now, if you come back, it is not read, it's on the replay, but it's okay. Make sure y'all watch this, share it out. So now look, I know y'all saw the topic. You saw the topic. We're going to have a conversation about the foster care system. Yes, the foster care system. Is it broken? We don't know. Is it broken or is it not broken? We're just going to have a conversation about it. And I want to say, and I would like to say, and I want y'all to help me welcome a very, okay, now let me say this. Y'all gonna hear my little fur babies in there. I'm not in studio 2, this studio 1, this studio 2 right here. Hubby still ain't got air conditioning right. Like I said on my earlier live, I got to wait when hubby want to get back out there and start doing something because it be hot in there and I can get that. So I'm in the house inside this studio. So y'all might hear my fur babies barking. Okay. Just let y'all know that now. I got 3 little Yorkies. But anyway, get back to what I was saying. I have a very, 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 yeah, very special guest. And that's going to be up here momentarily. Um, and she's going to share her story. She's going to talk about her journey. She's going to be transparent about foster care system. And I have to say this subject is very, very touching for me. It is. And it may be touching to ones that's going to be watching now, watching the replay. Just letting you know that this is a very touchy subject for me. But I felt like it was time for me to talk about it. Actually, we meant to have this episode in May, and the reason why, because May is foster care and adoption month. But things was going on, we could never get it done. But anyway, we're doing it now. We're doing it now. So without further ado, I want y'all to help me welcome my very, very, very special guest and brave guest. She's a mother. She's a wife, and she's a mother of 6. She's a mother of 6, and her name is Miss. I hope I don't mess it up. If my girl say your name, Pro, ProKoshia Opher. Let's welcome her in. There she is. Yes,
Hello.
welcome.
Hello.
Welcome, sweetheart. Welcome in here. I hope I did not mess your name up.
No, you said it perfectly.
ProKoshia. That
Yes.
is beautiful. Do you know where your
Thank
name came
you.
from?
So that's funny you asked. Me and my husband was just having a conversation about this morning. It is a Roman last name.
Wow.
Yes, it's a
Okay.
Roman last name.
ProKoshia.
Yes.
That is just beautiful. That's beautiful. So you heard me my introduction of what we're gonna be talking about.
Yes.
And I want to applaud you for coming up here.
Thank you.
For coming up here because as I stated on a lot of my lives and a lot of my episodes, when topics that I have and the brave people that come up here to talk about it, see, that's when you ready. You see what I'm saying? You ready? You ready to continue to heal? You ready to get your story out there because it may help somebody. Because you know
Right.
that's what Miss J is all about right here on
Right.
this. You see what I'm saying? And I just want to applaud you for this because I
Thank
know it's
you.
gonna be tough. I know it's gonna be tough. I know it's gonna be tough, but we're gonna get through it. We're gonna get through it. But before we start, let me give a little background of foster care. So what is foster care? So foster care means that you look after a child, knowing that they. Okay, hold on. Let me get myself together. Knowing that you will be giving them what they need, and there's additional love, support, and patience to help them overcome their trauma. Now I can agree with that. I can agree with that to an aspect, and I'll explain why later. Foster care is also known out of home care. It's a temporary service provided by different states for children who cannot live with their families. Now, when I saw this, over 77% of foster children are placed with relatives or with unrelated foster parents. Hmm. Hmm. Foster care is meant, okay, here's the key word, is meant to be a temporary arrangement. Is meant, I'm putting that in quotation, that is meant to be a temporary arrangement. So, foster care can also refer to as placement settings such as a group home, residential care facilities, emergency shelters, and supervised independent living. And so far, I'm agreeing with some of this. Now let's look at who started. Now, we got foster care all floating around here, but let's see who started it. Who was the person that really started, and how did foster care really start? I'm gonna look at this. We're gonna look at this. So in 1865, Charles Brace, he was a minister, and he came up with the program called Children's Aid New York. After he noticed a lot of children in what that was homeless in the streets of New York City, and that was being neglected. The program provided housing, food, and schooling to support thousands of orphan children. So the person that actually started foster care was in 1853, and his name was Charles Brace. That's who started it. So now when we hear foster care, first thing you want to know is how they end up there, right? How do children end up in foster care? There's a lot of reasons, but I just got two or three. I just got two or three down. Um, why do kids end up in the foster care system? Number one is abuse, and that could be physical, sexual, emotional, name calling, belittling. And if you name calling your child or belittling your child, do y'all know that's a form of abuse? Did y'all know that out there, my viewers? Do y'all understand that? When you're belittling your child, when you are calling your child a name, that is a form of abuse. And actually, if that child was smart enough to understand that, you would be in a world of trouble. That is a form of abuse. When you are belittling when you are bullying your child, because I know parents bully children too. Let's keep it 100. Parents bully children too. See, because when they small, they don't have a voice. But see, what you got to realize, they're gonna start growing up. They're gonna start having a voice. But see, when they small, they don't have a voice. You can bully them then. You can just about get away with it, just about. But as they get older, or they start having a voice then. The other one is neglect. And that could be physical. How you can get in trouble, how kids end up with neglect is because, say, like if the parent is not meeting their basic needs, such as food, a clean home. Yes, if you walk around here, you keep having these nasty houses, and you're gonna get reported. That's an issue. That's gone up. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Where you got clothes laying out west, because that's not fit for a child or children to be in. Yep. Yep. See, that's a form of neglect. Physical neglect. Okay. You're not meeting the basic needs: food, clean house, care, emotional. So also when you're neglecting their medical, if you got some children you never don't take them to the doctor, see, that's neglect. That's medical neglect. I want y'all to get this out there. Those that's watching live, those gonna be coming in, those gonna be watching replay. Y'all get this. Y'all get this. If you didn't know, we're gonna learn something, because I learned a lot of this. I learned a lot of stuff. Knew a lot of it too, but I learned some more. Again, did you know, if you are not taking your child to the doctors like they're supposed to be, that is a form of medical neglect. Now, this is where a lot of stuff slipped through the crack. If you go to the doctor and this doctor is noticing you probably just brought your child in 2 times out of 3 years. See, that's their duty then
They
to
have to
start
do
getting
it.
them people get contact this child welfare services. See, because that's a form of neglection right there. You're not taking your child to the doctor. I want y'all to get this. I want you to get it. That's a form of neglect. So it's abuse and neglect. Here's another one. I want y'all to understand this one too. Abandonment. I'm gonna say that one again. Abandonment. That means deserting a child or leaving a child home. Y'all get this, for a long period of time without caring for them under the age of 13.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm gonna marinate that one right there because I know, oh yeah, I might step on some toes too, but it's okay because it is what it is. Did y'all hear what I just read? That's a form of abandonment. Yeah, this I'm pretty sure some people that's gonna be watching this that might know somebody. You know what I mean? You doing it, but you might know somebody that be going to the club and leaving their 10-year-old just watch their 7-year-old. So you could be charged with abandonment. Just let you know. hmm Abandonment. That's a reason. And if you're found to be guilty of that, that's a reason they can come out, they can be taken out of your home. Okay? That abandonment, that's deserting the child. That's even if you tell me, Miss J, can you watch my baby for me a week? Okay, I'll watch it for a week. 3 months. I don't know where you at. I'm calling you. That's deserting a child. Yet I said I'll watch it a week. Cool. Now it's been 3 months and I'm just calling you. You done changed the phone number. You have deserted your child. Even though you know me, you still left your child, but you have deserted your child. I want y'all to get this, understand this. That's deserting your child. And the last one is illness. Illness, disability, including mental health issues, um, when the parent cannot provide adequate care. In all ages, from infant to youth, between the ages of 18 through 21 years of age, depending on the state, are represented by the system. The average age that a lot of them do come in, some of them do come in as newborn.
Yes.
As newborn, I want y'all to get this as newborn. Okay? I want y'all to get this. I want y'all to understand this. I'm gonna say this part, then I'm gonna let you talk. I got some questions I want to ask you, ProKoshia. So, what are the pros? Let's talk about the pros and cons of foster care. Let's talk about now. There's some pros and some cons about it. Let's look at the cons. Studies show that foster care is bad for your health. 7 times likely to experience depression. This is me. This is you as a foster person. 6 times likely to exhibit behavior problems. 5 times likely to feel anxiety. Let's look at the pros though. You have an opportunity to be a positive influence in a child's life. Opportunity to serve your community. And the opportunity to help a child overcome their trauma. Last one that's good for me is the opportunity to serve God. Did y'all get that? So there's some pros and some cons to being a foster parent. It is. It is. Because yeah, you're gonna have the anxiety. You're gonna have the anxiety. You are. So precaution. I'm gonna stop right there a little bit. Let me ask you question here.
Okay.
Mm. Tell me about the little girl Precocia. When what was she like when she was a little girl?
From what I remember, I was rambunctious and I stayed in stuff. Um, Living the life that I've lived, I've suppressed a lot.
Mm.
So when I'm asked about little Procotia, I have to sit there or either I can hear people telling stories and things will start coming back to me. But actually remembering, honestly, I have spurts of my life and
Oh,
episodes of things that took place that I can actually remember.
oh wow. Okay, I get it. I get it. I get it. So, what kind of girl Precocia was in her teens?
As a teenager, I was a street rebel.
Wow.
Um, I say that and I would like to elaborate on it.
Yeah, I was getting ready. Yeah.
Due to fact being, backing up a little bit,
Okay.
coming into my teens was very, it was a lot.
Okay.
Little Procotia, I was placed in foster care at 8.
Wow.
I'll never forget it. It was right after my 8th birthday. Um, I remember my mom pulling up on a blue pickup truck. She had a friend that had a blue pickup truck, and I remember her pulling up in the neighborhood, and she was just riding through the neighborhood, and she was screaming, "If you go in the kosher party, you better jump on." And we all was running, and we jumped on the back of this truck, and my mom took me to Pizza Hut. And that's the only birthday function that I can remember. And after that birthday function, I ended up with my dad.
Hmm.
Um, I remember my dad having me and my mom looking for me. And I remember my father refusing to give me back to my mother. And I remember my mom coming to my grandmother's house and my grandmother hiding me in the back room. And I remember hearing my mother crying, and she was asking my grandmother to give her child, just give
Hmm.
me to her.
Hmm.
And my grandmother was telling her she needed to go down the street and talk to my father. He was at work. And my mother left.
Hmm.
After that,
So you don't know why? You don't know. All you know, you had your birthday party. Everything was fine.
mhm,
But this happened after the birthday party?
this happened after the birthday party. Um, it was like a couple. It was like that. It was like a couple of days after the birthday party. Um, I remember there was a period where my mom told me that I couldn't go back to my grandmother's house. I'm a daddy's girl. To
Hmm.
this day, despite everything that I've gone through, I'm a daddy's girl.
That is good.
Um, Keeping me away from my dad was like telling me I couldn't breathe.
Wow.
That's how much of a daddy's girl that I am. Um, I was being touched on when I went to my grandmother's house. I remember one day my mom was getting ready to put me in the bathtub and there was blood in my panties. And my mom hopped out of the tub and she threw on nothing but a t-shirt. My mom threw on nothing but a t-shirt. And she wrapped me in a towel and she put me in a taxi cab and we went to the hospital. And I remember
How old were you? Do you remember how old you were?
I was like 5 or 6. I
Wow.
was like 5 or 6 years old. I remember everybody trying to calm my mother down. My mom was completely hysterical. My mom went ballistic. Um, they were saying that my mom was having a schizophrenic episode.
Mm,
I remember hearing that word a lot when I was a
mm.
kid.
Schizophrenic.
And they said my mom was having an episode because of how she went to the hospital. She only had on a t-shirt. That was it. And the doctor verified that I had been touched down below. Um, I remember all of my uncles and aunties and things coming to the house, talking to me. And I remember for a period, I couldn't go to my grandma's house. And that was odd to me because every weekend I was at my
At
grandma's
your
house.
grandmama's house.
I was my father. My father has 3 children. I'm the only girl out of 3 children. I have an older brother and a younger brother. And when it came down to my father and my grandmother, you would have thought that my father was my grandmother's baby boy, but he wasn't.
Wow.
And my dad had me. Um, I'll never forget her name. Her name was Miss Dickens. Miss Dickens was a teacher at Stocks, and she was also a foster parent. I grew up with the boys that she fostered, and I never knew what a foster parent was, but I remember all the kids used to talk about how that wasn't their real mom.
Mm-hmm.
And that morning, I remember being in the bathroom at Miss Dickens' house because we were living in Greenville with my stepmom and my
Wait a
dad.
minute, wait a minute. So now you don't went from the hospital to Miss Dickens' house.
No, some time had went by where
Oh,
I
okay,
wasn't allowed to go to my grandmother's house.
okay, okay.
Um, I remember the social worker coming to talk to me at the hospital, and I remember it was strict that I was not allowed to go back to my grandmother's house.
Okay.
Um, some time went by, and somehow or another, after that birthday party, Dad got me. Um, we were staying in Greenville at my stepmom's house because I wasn't supposed to be nowhere near my grandmother's house.
Okay.
So my dad had went and started staying with his girlfriend at the time. And one morning, Dad was running late for work, and I got dropped off at my grandma's house.
Uh-oh.
And I I remember one of my cousins being there. I don't want to tarnish anybody's name, so
Yeah.
I'm not gonna, you know,
That's right.
we moved past that point in
Right.
life,
Okay,
and
that's good. That's
I
good.
remember one of my cousins being there. Um, I remember him laying in the bed beside me because Dad had dropped me off at Grandma's house. I was still kind of sleepy. I was waiting for Miss Dickens to get up because normally me and Dad would be there together, but Dad was running late for work that morning.
Okay.
And when I got taken to Miss Dickens' house, I remember having to use the bathroom. And Miss Dickens, when Miss Dickens came in the bathroom to check on me, because I was in there for a very long time, Miss Dickens came in the bathroom and my panties had fresh blood in my panties. Miss Dickens called Department of Social Services. A report was made. I remember like yesterday. I remember hearing over the PA, "ProKoshia Long is to stay and wait." Normally, when I hear that, my daddy's picking me up. So I'm
Okay.
excited. My daddy's picking me up. I'm not going back to mommy's house. Daddy's picking me up
Okay.
because my dad had told me that after my mom had came to my grandmother's house, my father had a conversation with me. He told me that he had to let me go see my mom. And I remember I waited for my dad, and my dad
Mhm.
never showed up.
Wow.
And the social worker came, and they put me in this car. And when I got in this car, there was this little plastic basket that had some of my stuff in it, and I was confused.
Mm-hmm.
And we went to the Department of Social Services, and we sat there for a while. Miss Tilda Marshall was her name. That was my very first social worker. Her name was Tilda Marshall. Um, I remember Miss Marshall. She was a little short, dark skinned lady. She had pretty black hair. And Miss Marshall, she put me in a car and she talked to me and she said, "ProKoshia, you like sleepovers? You like slumber parties?" And I was like, "I've never been to a slumber
Yeah.
party. I've
Yeah.
never been to a
Now, how
sleepover."
old were you then?
I was 8. I
8
had
years.
just turned 8.
Okay.
And she said, "Well, we're gonna have a slumber party at my friend's house. You're gonna go stay at my friend's house." And I was confused
Yeah.
because my mama, with my mama,
Yeah.
I want my mama. I need to talk to
Mm-hmm.
my mama.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember getting dropped off. I went down this path that I thought was the longest path ever. Oh
Oh
my
my
God.
goodness.
I
Um,
thought this path was the longest path I ever been down in my life. But when I go down that path now, I'm like, I can't believe I thought that path was that long. Um, I was dropped off to this trailer, and it was this big old yard, and I was confused. And I was taken in the house, and this lady greeted me, and the house smelled so good because she was cooking, and this food was in the air. And she looked at me. She said, "You hungry?" And I didn't respond. And I remember sitting on the porch and watching Miss Marshall leave. And I remember her coming to the door, and I remember her telling me, well, the door's open when you get tired of sitting on the porch. And I was like, I'm waiting for my mama. My
yeah.
mom is coming. I'm waiting for my mom.
Mm-hmm. Take a breath. Take a breath. Take a breath. Take a breath. Take a breath.
And I sat out there, and I remember the sun setting on me. And it started getting cold. It was November. It was like
Oh,
a day or so before Thanksgiving. And after a while, I went in the house and I sat there. And I don't remember eating anything that night. And we didn't go back to school because it was Thanksgiving. We was out for Thanksgiving break.
take a breath.
And I went to sleep and I woke up and there was no mama. And I went to sleep and I woke up again and there was no mama. And now I want to talk to my mama. I need to talk to my mama. Like, where's my mama? They told
Mhm.
me this was a sleepover.
Yeah.
After sleepover, you go home.
Go home. Yeah.
We had a meeting at the Department of Social Services, and that's where I was explained to that I wasn't going home to my mom, because when they told my mama that they took me, my mother lost it.
Uh-oh.
My
Wow.
mother lost her mind. She flipped. She completely lost her mind. And I remember hearing a conversation between the social workers, and my grandmother was saying that she didn't want to deal with the problem because she was getting up in age and she had her own baby.
Wait a
And
minute. Your grandmother, your biological grandmother, yeah, didn't want to. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
my mother had a drug problem. My
Mhm.
mother had a real bad drug issue, and they wanted my mom to get help. And I was my mama's help, and
You were
they
so
didn't
comfortable.
understand that I
You were
was my
so
mama's
comfortable.
help.
Exactly.
Um, when my mama was sick, I wiped her mouth. I put the trash can by the bed. I was my mama's help. Y'all telling me my mama's sick. My mama's sick because I'm her medicine. She need me. And time just went on by. The home that I was placed in was the home of Ernest and Dorothy Whitehead. Um,
Take a breath. It's okay. It's okay.
being in the Whitehead house, to this day, that's my family.
Wow. Take a deep breath. You need to remove yourself from the camera, sweetheart. For you can do that because I would never want to disrespect you like that. Take yourself, move yourself down. You want me to move you? Okay, there you go. It's okay. It's okay.
Um, today, that's still my family. I just got a phone call a few hours ago that I call them my cousins slash nephews,
Yeah.
because as time went on, I found out that I was actually blood related to this family down the line.
Wow.
And I got a phone call a little while ago that my cousin passed away.
Oh wow.
Um, the Whitehead family is from Washington D.C. And I remember when I was a little girl, I used to think mumbo sauce was ketchup.
Oh, was what?
Mumbo sauce is a sauce that they put on food up here in Washington D.C. It's actually it's a Washington D.C. stamp.
Okay.
Um, Rodney taught me that mumbo sauce and ketchup is two different things. But being a part of the Whitehead family, sometimes I felt like I was always reminded that I wasn't a blood relative. You know, kids get jealous and they get angry and they say things. Um, Even though I was told certain things by kids, they still love me like I was part of the family. You can't tell me that I wasn't a whitehead. Till this day, we may not talk every day, but when it's time for us to come together, we come together.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, Miss Whitehead, before I got with Miss Whitehead, my little brother's grandmother, Miss Annie Standback, I love that lady today. That's my granny. She taught me how to pray.
All right now.
Um, when I was a little girl, my mom, like I said, she had a drug problem. I witnessed my mom go through a very abusive relationship. But
Mm.
even though her relationship with this man was abusive, I was his daughter before he even had children.
Oh wow.
And even though he lived the life that he lived, he introduced me to a family that even today still love me as their own.
Ain't
His
this
mom is my grandmama, his sisters are my auntie, and my little brother, God rest his soul, he had a family that was different from my father's family. Um, where my grandmama might have taught you how to shoot a gun, his grandmama taught me how to grab a Bible.
Ooh. Okay.
And that was the most powerful thing that anybody has
I know.
ever taught me.
I know. It's okay.
And Grandma Annie used to tell me, she say, baby, call on Jesus.
Ooh.
Because I was a little girl. I was like 5, 6 years old. She say, call on Jesus. And
Mm-hmm.
I say, Jesus. She
Mm-hmm.
say, look at that devil run.
Mm-hmm.
And I always would remember that in hard times. As
Mm-hmm.
long as I call on Jesus. And when I got with Miss Whitehead, I was sitting at the table one day saying my grace. And she
Okay.
had taught me to say my grace. And I remember her put her arms around me and she said, baby, you gonna be all right.
Ain't that something?
And I said, am I? She said, yeah, because you know one thing and that's how to pray.
Woo.
And Miss Whitehead, not Miss Whitehead, my mom, because that's what she was to me. She was my mom.
Okay.
And her kids were my brothers and my sisters. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a bad little girl. Because I used to think that if I be bad, they gonna send me back to my mama. Don't nobody want
Oh,
nobody else
okay. That
bad
was your
kid.
way of thinking. Okay.
So I used to think if I be bad, they gonna send me back to my mama because no matter how much Miss Whitehead loved me, and that lady loved me when that lady left this world, her kids loved me enough to put me in her obituary as one of her kids.
Wow.
And Mom used to fight nail and teeth to try to get me to be good.
Mm.
And no matter how much she loved me, I just felt like I needed my mama.
Yeah.
My mama needed me. I could
Mm-hmm.
feel that she needed me because she was getting sicker in the mind and she was getting more addicted to these drugs. And I went years without talking to my mom. And I spent 3 years at the Whitehead house. Um,
Wow.
I had my ups, I had my downs,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
they loved me. And I
That's what you
ended
feel.
up,
Mm-hmm.
one thing I can say, all foster homes are not the same.
Come on now.
All foster parents are not the same
That's right. That's right.
because living in the Whitehead house, I honestly feel like had I never left the Whitehead home, my life would have been so much different.
Wow.
And when you speak on the foster parents dealing with depression and anxiety, I
Mm-hmm.
witnessed it. I witnessed it. I witnessed it. My foster mother used to catch so much grief. She used to catch grief from her family because they didn't understand why, in her age, she wanted to deal with somebody else's headache. But
See,
she never allowed anybody to make me or any of my foster siblings feel any different.
ain't that something?
I watched so many foster kids come and go out of that house. And I used to say, one day gonna be my day because my mama gonna come get me. And
Mm.
my mama never came.
Wow.
And I remember leaving out of the Whitehead house. Um, Everybody knew that I didn't want to leave the Whitehead house.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being taken to Department of Social Services. And I was sitting at the table. I was one of the first foster children that Edgecombe County detained.
Yep.
Um, Foster care wasn't something that was of normality. It wasn't something normal. It wasn't something talked about. It wasn't something that we were aware of in Black society. And I watched so many different foster kids come and go within those 3 years. Because
Wow.
as you stated earlier, foster care is supposed to be a temporary thing. A
Mm-hmm.
parent is given 18 months to get their self together and prove to the
Exactly.
court that they are
Exactly.
stable to take care of their
Exactly.
children.
Now you said something. 18. If when your children are taken from you, see,
You are
this is
given
something people don't
18
understand.
months.
You're given 18 months. Do what they tell you to do. They have stuff outlined for you to do. Now, if you
Yep.
don't do it, it's
It's
nothing else that can
it's
be done.
nothing else. Your
It's
children
nothing
stay
that
in
can
the
be done.
system.
Exactly.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I had become the poster child for foster care.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I remember going to the Department of Social Services and sitting at this table with all these other kids that I never seen before because I never knew that there were so many other kids like me. And I was so
Yes.
ecstatic. And all these other kids, I think it was 4 kids from each county in
County.
that surrounding area.
Uh-huh.
It was 2 girls and 2 boys from each county in that surrounding area. And right before my 10th birthday, I'll never forget it. I was given the opportunity to be taken to Walt Disney World.
Mm-hmm.
This is why I say all foster care systems is not the same.
Yep.
It depends on the people. It depends on the
That's
people
right.
that are
That's
working
right.
in that agency. Um,
Miss Miss Force, she said what matters is you are still here and you are loved. Then she said all children need to be shown love, period.
yes, thank you, Miss Foster. Yes, indeed, and that's what I live by now. I'm still here
Mm-hmm.
because as I get into my story, you will see that it could have been so many different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was taken to Walt Disney World, and when I was taken to Walt Disney World, I had fixed it in my mind that I was where I was, and that's just what it was. And when I came back, I made a promise to myself and Miss Whitehead that I was going to do what I was supposed to do. I was going to be good, and
Mm-hmm.
I was going to accept the family that God had blessed me with.
Come on now.
And as I shared that with her, she bust out crying. And that was not the first time that I had seen my mama, because that was my mama. That
Yeah.
wasn't the first time that I had seen her go through that type of pain. What people
Mm-hmm.
don't realize is these people become attached to us.
Sure do. Sure
Within
do.
that 18 months, they go through everything that you would have went through as a parent.
Mm-hmm.
The sick nights, the emergency rooms, the
That's right.
feeding us, the schooling, the school
Tell it.
calling. They
That's
take
right.
up every ounce of responsibility that we are supposed to take as parents.
Mm-hmm.
And I seen that pain in her when they came and got Boss Man. Boss Man was a baby that came into our home. And he came into our home as an infant. And when
Yep.
they came and got him, he was like 1 or going on 2. And mom cried for days.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I seen her so weak that she couldn't eat. And I never seen that pain in her face ever again until this very moment. And she looked at me and she said, "Baby, they coming to get you." And I said, "What you mean they coming to get me? I'm not going nowhere. I'm home." And
Mm-hmm.
she told, because after a certain amount of time, the family that you're placed with, they have an option of adopting you.
Yes.
And I used to beg mommy, I used to say, I want to be a whitehead. I wanted to be a whitehead. You could tell
Mhm.
me like everything about my family. I had suppressed it. I put it in the back of my mind because nobody
Wow.
came to get me.
Wow.
My mom, I remember one phone call from my mom. She was pissy drunk. Um, I could barely understand what she was saying. It was Christmas. After finding out who I was, Miss Whitehead was trying to open a door for my mother to be able to talk to me. And that Christmas she called me. I made it clear that I didn't want to talk to her no more
Now
because I
at
could.
that point, okay, why at that point? Now all this while you been waiting for mama to come at you, right?
Mhm.
Oh, excuse me. Excuse me. So why now? So now is it resentment setting in?
I couldn't recognize the person on the phone.
Oh, okay.
The person that I listened to on that phone wasn't my mommy. I didn't know that person. I didn't know
Okay.
that lady. She sounded like she was slurring and she couldn't hold her tongue and her words were all over the place. And I didn't I couldn't bring myself to relate to that person. Um I made it clear I didn't want to talk to her anymore. Miss Whitehead sat me down and explained to me that my father's brother was planning to adopt me. That phone call was my mother supposed to have been calling me to tell me that she and my father signed their rights over
Oh wow.
and they were no longer my mother and father.
Oh wow. Now
I
you
was
was what
now,
8? You was
no, I
8,
was 10. I had just
10
turned
then.
10 then.
Oh.
And I was now a ward of the state.
Yep.
I no longer had a mom and dad. My dad had started doing drugs. Um, a lot of things were coming out about a life that my father was living that I never knew because my father never showed me that person.
Okay.
I
Okay.
never knew my father
Mhm.
being anything of what they were trying to tell me he was.
Okay.
And my uncle and my uncle from Washington D.C. he came to get me, him and his wife, and it took a lot for me to adjust to the new environment. I was a country girl from North Carolina, and
Mhm.
I had this funny accent,
Yeah.
and everybody was calling me a Bama because
Oh yeah, I know them
our
names.
style was different down there, and I was Coco with the two K's because that's
Yeah.
what my dad used to call me Coco, and my family used to call me Kojam because I love to
Okay.
dance.
Okay.
Dancing has always been my outlet. So I used to tell everybody I was Coco because when they would call me Kosha, they would call me Dill Pickle, and I didn't like it.
Oh, being funny, Coach Deal Picker. Okay.
Yeah, the cat's out
Okay.
the bag. My family calls me Kosha. So if a person calls me Kosha, you know me. If you
Okay.
can't call me Kosha, you don't know
You
me.
don't know
You
me.
you
That's
don't know
right.
me at all.
I get you.
You know.
Mm-hmm.
So I moved here to Washington D.C. and it took some adjusting, but I got adjusted. And I've always been heavy up top. I've always been overly developed. While living in the Whitehead house, I received my menstrual cycle. I was 8 years old.
Mm.
Um, it wasn't normal, but it caused me to develop fast.
Mm.
Um, while living in the house with my uncle, um, I was being molested.
Oh man.
Um, I was being molested for a long time. In North Carolina, when things like that happen, we sweep them under the rug.
Yes, sure do.
Um,
Yeah.
we sweep them under the rug.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about them.
Come on.
I had no idea what molestation was
Mm-hmm.
because I had dealt with it for so long as a child. I had no idea what it was. And It went on for a long time. And I remember my uncle used to tell me, if you tell somebody, all they gonna do is send you back to North Carolina and throw you back in foster care. And you
See?
don't want to do that, do you? And after actually being with my family and being up here in Washington and meeting new
Mhm.
people and seeing new things, and I didn't want to be put back in foster care because I didn't know if they were going to take me back
See,
home.
he knew. See, he knew. Saying that to you still as a child, he knew that. He knew that was that. That's what you were so frightened of now. So
Hmm.
he knew you were gonna be hush mouth.
Right,
He knew you were gonna say nothing.
right.
Mhm.
Um, for years, I want to say about 4 years, little stuff went on in my home. He would touch on me, and when it got to the point when he was coming in my bedroom, um, actually making himself orgasm by touching me and looking at me and things, I began to feel disgusted.
I am so sorry.
I began to be rebellious. I began to skip school. Um, we had a friend of the family, and I remember being asked to babysit. And while I was babysitting while my cousin was moving her furniture, and I was raped by a guy that she had there at her house. And I didn't know how to tell anyone, but her sister's friend, that next day we got up, we went to church. I've always been in church.
And how old were you then?
Um, I was like 13. I
Wow.
was like 13.
Miss
Um,
Forrest said this, Miss Forrest said this is so familiar to me.
yeah.
Wow.
Um, I got raped, and I don't know if you're familiar with Jericho Baptist Church. It's Shirley Caesar's church. We were members of Jericho when Jericho was raising money to be the Jericho that it is today. And I remember my big cousin's friend. She pulled me to the side. She said, "Why you walking like that? What's wrong with you?" And I bust out crying. And she walked me outside, and I told her everything that happened.
That's what
And
you okay. From that point on, let me ask you this. From that point on, you just was quiet. Do you think you were just waiting for somebody to ask what's
I was
wrong?
waiting for somebody to take notice that it was
There
something
you
wrong
go.
with me.
Thought so. Okay.
Because when I said something the first time that this happened to me, I was taken from my mama. And I was scared of what may happen again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I went to her, I told her about the rape. I hadn't told her about what my uncle was doing to me.
Now he was just
Um,
touching. He wasn't doing no
he
penetration. He was
had
just
never
touching.
penetrated me. But at this point, my hymen was broke. I sat in a tub full of blood. I could feel it. I felt it. And when I told her what happened, I went home and I told my uncle. I told my uncle what had happened to me because I felt like, okay, now is when he's going to prove that he's going to protect me. His
Just because you
words to
talk.
me was, "Don't tell anyone, because if you tell anyone, it might come out about me, and I'm going to handle it. I'm going to handle it. I'm going to handle it. I'm going to take care of it." So some months went by, and my uncle told me that the man that did that to me was in a wheelchair. My uncle told me that he had somebody break both of his legs, and I went with that. But I wasn't a virgin anymore.
Yeah, because you
And
lost that at what age?
13.
Wow.
I wasn't a virgin anymore. And the boys in the neighborhood could look at me and tell that I wasn't a virgin anymore. And I've always been heavy up top. So everybody always suspected that I was older than what I was.
Mm-hmm.
I started dating older guys. I was skipping school real bad. Um,
Wow. Acting out.
I was just, I just didn't care. I didn't care. I was
Mm-hmm.
forging notes. My aunt had a certain way that she would sign something. especially if I was catching her while she was going out the door. My auntie, she worked for the Department of Treasury. She was always like, she was there, but she wasn't there. She worked. She was gone at 5 in the morning. She was home at 6. She was in the bed by 7, and my uncle was running the household.
Okay.
She went and got the bread and butter, and he was retired military. He stayed home, and I later found out that he did certain things to other people in the family as well.
Wow.
I remember my ninth grade year. We were sitting in the classroom, and we were in sex education. This video was put on, the lights was turned out, and I remember the girl laying in the bed, and she heard the door creaking open, and
Oh
she
wow.
grabbed her blanket, and in big bold red letters, molestation came across the bottom of the screen. And when the man went in, you could see the man walking in a room, and he closed the door behind him, and you couldn't see anything else, but you could
Right.
hear him unbuckling his belt.
Right. Okay.
And I threw up all over my desk.
That was a trigger.
I threw up all over my desk. Um, a young lady in my class, she knew oh so well what was wrong with me because she had been through it as well.
Wow.
I was let go to the bathroom, and as I was standing in the bathroom, I came out the bathroom. She grabbed me and she hugged me, and we became each other's support. Um, I had a cousin living with me. She's not with us anymore in the flesh. Um, she was going through similar things that I was going through, but Nikki was she was hood, so she knew how to handle certain things that I didn't know
Okay.
how to handle.
Mm-hmm.
And she had became my protection because I had then shared with her and another one of my cousins what was going on. So now everybody was on full alert,
Okay.
and we had like this girl squad bond. But I was skipping school more and more because I had fell in love with this older boy, and he made me feel like I was loved. He made me feel like he was my protector. He made me feel like he was going to be there. And I was skipping school. I was running reckless, and then I got introduced to smoking weed, and I got careless with how I was skipping school. And the school called my auntie one day. Everybody know if Miss Sandra come to school and her hair pulled back in a ponytail, Coco about to get her butt toe up.
Oh boy.
Because one thing for certain and two things for sure, my auntie kept a nice bouncy curl, and she could have on her nightgown and she was snatched. But if she had that hair brushed back in a ponytail, you knew she was coming to do some work.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what scene she pulled up on, it was time to put
Mm-hmm.
some work in. And I remember being called to the guidance counselor office, and I was like, I got a note. I'm about to leave. I got a doctor's appointment. So they was like, well, you need to walk in the principal office right fast before you leave so you can get your note signed by the principal. I walk in the principal office, my auntie and the principal sitting there. My aunt like, what doctor's appointment you going to? So now
Exactly.
the cat was out the bag.
Mm-hmm.
I got taken to the doctor. It was found out that I was sexually active and I was no longer a virgin. My aunt was appalled. She was disgusted. She was in shock. She didn't know what to say because in her mind, I was her sweet little ProKoshia. And she was confused because she was working so much to give me everything that I wanted that she didn't really take time
See.
to
Mm-hmm.
see what was going on in her house.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody around us could see what was going on, but nobody said nothing because that was him, and he was him, and he was him. And he did a lot for a lot of people, and they opened up their homes, they fed people, they made sure people was okay, so people would turn the other cheek because they felt like it wasn't their business. So my aunt came out one day and she asked me, what is going on with you? Like, I'm finding out your grades dropping, and I don't know what's going on with you. You not talking to me. And she started running things down to me. Did somebody do something to you? Did somebody threaten you? Is somebody touching you? And I threw up. And at first she started calling out people's names, and she was calling out all the names but the right names, and she called out the wrong name again, and I screamed who it was.
Oh boy.
And when
Okay.
I screamed who it was, her face went blank, but it was a blank like that wasn't the first time that she had heard this from somebody.
Oh, so you got the feeling from her. You when you told her, you didn't feel like she was surprised.
Right.
Oh, you
Right.
got,
I didn't get a sense of surprise from her. Um, she did go into shock, but it was when it all came out, it was like, that's my husband and I gotta stick by him. I ran away. When I did try to go back to the house, my uncle charged at me with an iron pole. I ran away again.
are you 13 years old?
Yes, I ran away again. Um, I stayed out. I was laying up with young men just to be able to have somewhere to lay for that night. I was living in PG County. I was all in Southeast and all in Northwest and some everywhere. And
Do you blame foster? Do you blame? Would you blame? Okay. Do you
do I
think?
blame the system?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I blame the system because this is something that this man has been doing for many years. When the system evaluates a person, now today, the evaluation process is more in depth. Um, Back then, it was more so we need to get this child out the system.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't a thorough investigation to a person's life.
See. Yeah.
And I felt at the time I felt like the system failed me.
Yeah.
Um,
I. You know. I can. I'll be honest enough to say that. Yeah. That it's not perfect. Um. But listening at you talking, it was a. This is what I was doing for years.
yes.
I see a lot of stuff that was missed,
Hmm.
or I'm gonna say this too. I'm gonna get ready to go there, or overlooked.
Overlooked. I'm
Yeah.
gonna say more so overlooked.
Hmm. I see a lot of stuff that was overlooked. Cause you got some of
Hmm.
them that's in it just to be in it, but you got some of them that's in it because they care. They
Right.
care and they want to try to help the children. They want to,
Right.
you feel what I'm saying? And you
Right.
got some of the one that was, God, Lord, I got this caseload here. What in the what? Then you got the
Right.
one, oh no, I got the I need to go talk to her. I need the heart is really there.
Hmm.
You feel me?
Yes.
And you got no
Yes.
one to be just like I need to go on 9 to 5. Look, you ain't gonna try to find nowhere for
Yes.
y'all try to find somewhere. It's sad, but y'all out there that's veering. I'm sorry. It's the truth, though. It's the
Hmm.
truth. And that's still then, and it's still right now because it's
Yeah.
still some of them sit right back there behind them desks
Yeah.
that really don't have the heart. They just there
Yes.
because they've been there 25, 30 years.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just here to my retirement time. But see, you when doing something like this, you got to have heart.
Parts.
You're supposed to have
Yes.
heart. You're
Hmm.
supposed to have your reason why you want to do this.
Right.
It's not nothing. And I didn't like when people always think, you gonna take my child away from me. See what you gotta understand. If you don't do what you're supposed to do, when we
Hmm.
ask you to do that and you don't do it, what other choice is there? It's not all
Right.
now I want y'all to get this now. The system is not all about snatching your children. They're about
It's not.
reunification. But
Hmm.
what people don't understand, if I come at your child, I'm gonna sit you down. We're gonna have some plans. We
Right.
got some plans for you to do. Now,
Right.
you want your child. You're gonna do what's on that plan for that 18 months. You're
Exactly.
gonna do exactly that. Or you can work this way. can have a conversation where, you know what, I've been thinking for the past 2 weeks, I've been thinking, I think I want this gone to sign my rights. So now it's
Right.
nothing wrong with that. I want y'all to get this now. It's nothing wrong with it. See, because why as a as a parent to this child, and you don't feel no bond, because it's some of them like that now. Just keep it 100. It's some of them like
Hmm.
that. Don't
There
have
is.
no bond. You
There
know,
is.
don't feel the love that child is supposed to have for that child for whatever reason, for whatever reason. So why are you gonna still be the mother? So that's sometimes it's just the right thing to do. Just go ahead on and sign your rights over and say, look, let him or her go to a home that's going to give them what I just cannot give.
Right.
Be honest about it. It's
Right.
still being in child life, abusing the child, making the child feel bad, belittling the child, not feeding the child, telling the child you can't eat.
Yeah.
I'm just keeping 100, y'all, because
Yeah.
I
You're
know.
right.
Am I right or
You're
wrong?
right. Not at all.
Okay, it happens. There's nothing wrong with now saying you can't handle it. It's nothing
Right.
wrong with that. If you can't, if you gotta say, you gotta be grown about it.
Right.
That don't make you a bad parent
You're
because
right.
you did that. I want y'all to get this. It does not make you a bad parent when you stand up in that mirror and you look yourself in that mirror. You cry all you want to cry, but the same conclusion still keep coming. I can't do this.
And I've been there. I've
See,
been there.
see,
I've been there.
see. So you know what I'm talking about. You
Yes.
know what I'm talking about. It's not. That don't make you a bad parent. It don't get that now, y'all. It does not make you a bad parent when you make tough decisions like that. It
Yep.
don't. It don't. I want y'all to get this. Miss Farr said our stories are so similar. I'm sitting here with tears running down my face. Oh wow,
Oh.
Miss Farr's. Wow.
Oh.
But she's being transparent. She's being
Yeah.
transparent because somebody gonna hear this. It would be able to help in some kind of way.
And that's why I have no problem telling my story. It took me a long time, but I want my story to be someone else's story. It could be a little girl to hear my story that went through what I went through, feeling like she's by herself. But
Mm-hmm.
hearing my story, she sees that dang gone. This a grown woman, and she went through exactly what I went through, and she's okay
Mm-hmm.
because she's okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Yeah. After I told, I was placed in a foster care in Maryland.
mm-hmm.
And that was very temporary because, just as my uncle said, all they gonna do is come and get you and move you back to North Carolina. And that's exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got moved back to North Carolina, y'all, let me tell you, I was they moved me back to North Carolina and then they put me back in a Whitehead's home. Going into foster care as a kid and going into foster care as an adolescent,
See,
it's a big difference.
it surely is.
People are more willing to put up with little people than
Yes.
adolescents. And
Mm-hmm.
that is why so
Mm-hmm.
many babies end up in group homes and
Mm-hmm.
homeless, because foster homes do not want to take up what nobody already programmed, mind
Exactly.
already set. Might
Exactly.
be wild and in the streets. Ain't
Yep.
no telling what type of lifestyle, what type of PTSD, what type of issues, what
That's
type of
right.
trauma they dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Hard knock life, excuse my French, as kids.
Mm-hmm.
They
Yeah.
don't want to put up with nobody else's issues,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
especially when it's not a situation where they may have time left to mold a child in a different direction.
As far as say you are so right. That's right.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
When I went back into the Whitehead's home, mom was way up in age. Ernie was Ernie gone then? I believe he was. And it was a lot on her because I was in high school and I had met up with people, and some people I went to elementary school with, and some people from my grandma's neighborhood because I was able to go visit my grandma on weekends and things. And it didn't work, and
Oh.
I ended up being moved in another foster home.
Mm-hmm.
Worst thing they could have did, because this foster family actually knew who my mother was. They knew who my grandma was. They knew my
Wow.
background because we were actually close knit kin. We were kin
Oh,
folks.
okay.
The area that we from, everybody know everybody. So it was thrown
Mm-hmm.
in my face who my mama was, and I guess my mom had an affair with her husband, and when she found out she was getting Shirley Long daughter, it was her turn to be spiteful. But I had my social workers, my mom, my mamas, my aunties,
Mm-hmm.
my Miss Angie. I love you, lady. I love you so 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 much. Um, my sister-in-law brought us back together. Um, when you started talking to me, I knew exactly who you was. And when I told my sister-in-law, I said Miss Angie was my angel when I was in foster care. She was like, foster care. And she said that explains a lot. My in-laws, they cannot stand me. I'm a foster kid. They grew up in mama daddy households,
Mm-hmm.
completely different backgrounds. My energy is different. Loyalty is a big thing to me. Um, I don't take a lot of BS.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm a realness type of person. Certain things are weird to me. It's
Mm-hmm.
weird to me that you want me to hold hands with my husband, baby mama, and we all be friends. I'm not used to nothing like that. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
from that type of life. And
Mm-hmm.
me and my sister-in-law had a huge falling out. And then there was a segment that you were doing about domestic violence.
Yep.
And when she shared with me that she was going to share her story, um, I wanted to support her. And then I saw you. And I said to her, that's my auntie. That's one of my mamas. When I went back into foster care, Mr. Northleet was my father, and Miss Beasley was my mama. And I had an auntie named Marie Goodlow, and
Yep.
I had an auntie named Angela, Miss Angela. That's what I call her. That was my Miss Angela. And it got to the point where when I would call Edgecombe County Department of Social Service, I didn't have to say my name because Miss Angie knew who I was. And even though I had been bad and I knew I was going to get in trouble, Miss Angie always took time to talk to me and calm me down and get me together before I talked to my mama because she already knew Miss Beasley was going to let me have it. And when I came out of the Johnson's house, I ran down to the Department of Social Service and I was in the office and I was going off and I was like, I want to kill her. She keep talking about my mama and she make me feel bad and they want to destroy me and they ain't got nobody. And you all risk your jobs for me. And I thank you for that. Because it was so many times that I walked in that office that y'all was supposed to turn me in for me to go to a group home. But y'all used to put y'all money together to put clothes on my back. Y'all used to put y'all money together to put shoes on my feet. And it didn't have nothing to do with Department of Social Services.
That's right.
None of their money, none of their funds, or none of that. Y'all did that out y'all own pockets. Christmas time, y'all used to take money from y'all kids. And y'all would call me down to the office and y'all give me little envelopes and y'all tell me,
Yep.
go sit down somewhere. And y'all allowed me to stay with my grandmother, knowing that I wasn't supposed to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But y'all made me promise to go to school. And y'all made me promise not to get in trouble. And I had to check in twice a week.
Yep.
Because
Yep.
if I did check in twice a week, I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. And y'all knew I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing. And I feel like God put you back in my life was for so many reasons. Because since I've been reunited with you, so many awesome things have been taking place in my
Oh
life.
wow.
And we talk and you
Yep.
coach me through so many things.
Yeah.
You mentor me through so many moments. Being a wife is new to me. And there's so many times that I just want to be like, forget it. I don't want to do this no more. And there's so many times that you walked me through so many steps with your knowledge.
Thank you.
And you never said to me, leave him. You've always told me to follow my heart. And you've always told me if I love this man, look and see what it is that I can do better for me. Work on me. And everything else will come together. And I've been taking that time to work on me. Um, in the mix of me becoming an adult, right before my 18th birthday, the three of y'all called me in the office and y'all was like, look, you know you ain't in compliance, but we gonna work this thing where we
Work
gonna
it out.
put you in a foster home and you gotta stay there for 2 months, ProKoshia.
2 months.
2 months. Just stay there for 2
2
months.
months. Yeah.
And you gonna be emancipated and we gonna put you in an apartment. And y'all took me, and my apartment was laced out with brand new furniture straight off the showroom floor. And I was put in a situation where I didn't have to ask nobody for
But
nothing.
nothing.
And I had these three powerful women in my life that loved me, and they took care of me, and they made sure I was good, and you were one of them. And I will forever thank you for that. My kids will forever know your name.
Oh
And
wow.
for that alone, I thank my sister-in-law, despite whatever ill intentions or ill feelings we've ever had, for her bringing us back together. I feel forever indebted to her. I will forever thank her for that.
Mm-hmm.
Because me getting you brought back so many memories
Wow.
that I
Yeah.
had suppressed. And I've taken those memories and it's made me better as a woman. And it's made me better as a
Wow.
mother.
Wow.
And I'm so grateful for that. These last 2 years have been so trying, because in between me being put back in North Carolina, I was emancipated into adulthood. Um, I got in some trouble because y'all always taught me to be smart. And even though I turned 16, I got pregnant. I had an ectopic pregnancy that almost took me out of here. The same man that the same man that birthed me saved my life.
Wow.
And when I lost that baby, it opened my eyes up to so much. And I started staying with my big cousin, and I was like from pillow to post. Um, I had lost my apartment, being grown, not being mentally educated by the court system, because
Mm-hmm.
I was more book educated. Because if y'all didn't do nothing else, y'all made sure that I learned.
That's right.
Even
That's right.
if it was a book that y'all gave me to go sit somewhere and read,
And
y'all
read
made
it. That's
sure that
right.
I was mentally educated.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in between that time, I received a associate's degree in business with no high school diploma, no
There
GED.
you go. There you go.
Um, there was a program going on where you could go to school online, and I took advantage of it, and I lied and said I had a GED, and I didn't, but I have an associate's. And I met this man that I thought loved me, and because I seen what my mom went through, I thought that abuse was love. And because you all never you all prepared me for life, but there was never a moment where I was shown, any type of domestic violence or
Mm-hmm.
family violence or anything like that. And I got wrapped up with this guy, and I thought he loved me. And we were together for 10 years, and I had these two awesome kids. And coming into adulthood, I was with this man that beat me coming and going. And my mother, who had went through her traumas and her trials and tribulations, decided
Mm-hmm.
to pop back up in my life. At this time, I was now 22 years old. Me and my mom hadn't had no type of connection. Me and my father had had a connection.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I had an awesome relationship with my dad. He was more so disappointed that I wasn't the daughter that he expected me to be. But after I shared with him, like, hell, you want a daddy, I expected you to be neither. So I guess we even.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Um, it made our relationship grow once I got off my chest to him how I felt.
You had to do that.
Yeah,
You release that.
he
Mm-hmm.
was very understanding of that. Me and my father had fell out because of his relationship with his wife's daughters. He was hit by a car, and
Wow.
the thought of losing one of my parents made me feel like I need them just as much as they need me. So when my father came out of his coma asking for his little girl. And they took my stepsister up there. And the nurse called me. The nurse said, Mr. Burton told me to call your grandmother and
Mm-hmm.
get your phone number. And your grandmother gave me your phone number. And your father's asking for you because they brought a little girl up here. And he whispered in my ear that that wasn't his little girl. And when I walked in the room, my daddy looked and he said, "That's my little girl." And me and my father has been tight as a tight since then. And when I started dealing with this man, my father wasn't happy. He wasn't happy at all. My
Mm-hmm.
daddy couldn't
Not they
understand.
don't. They really not to be their daughter.
He wasn't. He really couldn't understand how I could settle for someone beating on me when I've never seen my father lay his hand to a woman. As I've gotten older, I've had women to tell me, "Girl, your father was an abuser." You can tell me that story, but I can't tell you that story. And I appreciate you not trying to tell me that story because
Mm-hmm.
my father's never shown me that side of him. My daddy is my daddy. And I can remember one time my whole life that my daddy's ever spanked me. So that was something I wasn't trying to entertain. And he wasn't understanding how I could allow this man to beat on me like this. And I went through it and I put up with it because growing up as a foster child, you don't get to see what real love is. In my
Mm-hmm.
foster home, my
Yeah.
foster mother ran the house. Ernie went to work. Ernie came home. Ernie got his dinner. Ernie went to sleep. I never seen intimate moments with them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I've heard a few argues through the door, but I've never seen them violent, but I've never seen them together either. And when I met this guy, I was going through some things. I was homeless. I wasn't staying with my grandmother anymore.
Then you was
Um,
18.
yeah, I was 18 then.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I fell in love with this guy. He was my protector. He took care of me. His family loved me. Um, was writing personal checks. They was bouncing. People were taking warrants out on me. And me and this guy was together for 4 years before my past started catching up on me. And I started getting arrested. And his family was putting up land to come get me. And they was selling cars to give me bail money. And I felt indebted to this man because I never knew any type of love like this.
Okay.
And I allowed him to beat me, and he was beating babies out of me. And one of the things his family wanted to see him do was become a father because his grandmother raised him, and they wanted to see him become a father. And I remember I called my auntie one time. I was like, "Auntie, I'm pregnant. What am I supposed to do? I don't want to have this boy baby. Like, I'm not ready to be no mother. Like, what am I supposed to do?"
Mm-hmm.
And she told me, she said, "Go to the store, get you some castor oil. Take you some castor oil." So every time we would have sex, I'd go in the bathroom and I'd take me some castor oil. And I had two miscarriages. And the last pregnancy, I remember me and my mother was pregnant together. And he jumped on me and I packed up my stuff, called my father. I was like, "Come get me. Come get me." My father came and got me. And I ended up going back. And I had his firstborn child, my firstborn child, and we had a son.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had this son, he was angry because he wanted a girl and I had a boy. And we still fought. But in the midst of us fighting, people were watching and people were taking notes and people were paying attention. And after I had my daughter, the fights got worse. And we ended up getting a place in Enfield, North Carolina. And the fighting got worse. And the life that we were living, we were in the streets. We were selling dope and running the streets, and we were in the streets. We were Bonnie and Clyde. That was my
So,
Clyde, and I was his
so
Bonnie.
let me ask you this: do you think if you would have never, if you do you think if your life, if you would have never had the system, that you got involved with the system, do you think your life would have been different, or
It would have been different,
you
but
think?
being who I am today,
Right.
I wouldn't change a thing about it.
Wow.
Because when I pray, I thank the Lord for my trials and tribulations before my blessings.
Okay. Okay.
Because I had those two kids, the system got involved in my life as an adult because my kids were taken from me.
Mm-hmm.
When you were talking about the type of abuses, protection is also a form of neglect. If
Mm-hmm.
you're not fulfilling to protect your children,
Mm-hmm.
they consider that a form of neglect. And I learned
Mm-hmm.
that the hard way because I was working at Subway. I came home from work. He was mad because I was late getting him the car, and he jumped on me. And that was the first time that my son had actually involved himself with him jumping on me.
That's where the protection come in. Okay.
That's where the protection come
Mm-hmm.
in.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he took my head through the wall twice, and my daughter was trying to get to me, and she was crying, and he kept putting her on the couch, and she kept getting off the couch, and he was trying to protect her from him jumping on me because my kids were trying to get to me. And he popped my baby. He popped her. Like pop, pop, pop. Sit down.
Mm-hmm.
I told you not to get back up. And when he popped my baby, I charged at him and my son charged at him. And he took his hand and pushed my son back and he was like, "Oh, you fighting for your mother? You fighting for your mother, little nigga?" And he mushed my son down. And we heard a knock at the door. The police was at the door. And when the police came, I had just fixed their lunch at Subway. And by the time they got there, my hand had swelled up. You know how you take a balloon, glove and blow it up? My hand had swelled up that big. And the officer said, "What's going on?" I said, "Nothing." And the officer could see the holes in my walls. And the officer looked at me and he said, "Come on, ProKoshia, now. You just fixed my sandwich and your hand didn't look like that. So I'm going to ask you again. Otherwise, I'm going to have to use forceful entry to come into your unit because I hear the kids crying, I hear holes in the wall, and your hand is swollen." So the officer came in, and as soon as the officer said what happened, my son said, "Daddy hit baby and he hit my mommy." And
It's protection. Yep. Yep.
they
Yep. Mm-hmm.
they were there. And this happened 2 months after my mother was murdered by her boyfriend. Christmas 2008, I got
Wow.
a phone call. It was my mother. I had no idea. My mother took her last breaths to apologize to me for not being the mother that I needed her to be.
Wow.
My mother had sent the police to my house, had my door kicked in, told the police that my kingpin baby father was holding me hostage and he wouldn't let me go. And her tactic was to get me away from him. She apologized for all the things that she had did with the police. She told me, she said, "I didn't bring you in this world to be nobody's punching bag. Get away from him because I don't want you to end up like me." And the whole time, I did not know that my mother was dying. Her and her boyfriend had got to fighting, and she hit him in the head with a bottle, and the blood blinded him. He was already blind in one eye. His story was that he was poking the turkey because he was cooking dinner, and when she hit him in the head with the bottle, the blood came trickling. You know, when you drink alcohol, it makes you
Yeah.
bleed
It
worse.
worse. Mm-hmm.
And he went to swing like this, but not realizing he still had the knife in his hand, and the knife went in her back. and came out. But the thing about it is, he left my mom in the house. Um, he went to his sister's house. The story said that he walked in the house and said, "Ding dong, the witch is dead. I think I done killed the bitch this time." And everybody thought that he was playing until they called 911 and sent the police to his house. And sure enough, my mother had been laying in there by herself so long that she had reached rigor mortis state. By the time the ambulance had got there, she had bled out. And the phone that was laying on the floor, the last number, I remember the number like it was yesterday. It was 252-907-1137. That was our cell phone number. I wasn't allowed to have a cell phone of my own. So me and Dwayne shared a cell phone. And sure enough, my mother called that night at 11:03. She called at 11:03. That's what time it was when the phone rang. And because of that, looking at my mom laying in that box, because she was cremated, but we did have a viewing, it told me I had to go. A week after my mom's body viewing, he put me in a ditch of water and tried to drown me. And a month later, that February, this happened that December, I left him on January the 7th, sitting in the courthouse, 2009. I was tired. I had had enough. I told the social worker everything that I've been telling y'all was a lie. He beats me. He beats me in front of my kids. I'm tired, and something has to be done about it.
Okay.
Um, I left. I left him. They had me living in Weldon, North Carolina, in the projects. I was driving from Weldon to Enfield every day. 5 o'clock in the morning, I had to be at work. I had to drop my kids off at daycare. I picked the kids up, from daycare. I'm dozing off, trying to get back to Weldon from Enfield. And I had the opportunity to move back to Enfield. So when I was told that there was an apartment open in Enfield, silly old me, I'm going to pack my house up and I'm going to move back to Enfield. And when I moved back to Enfield, that was the biggest mistake that I could have ever made.
Wow.
Because the state had taken a stay away order out on my children's father.
Okay.
And because I didn't have family, I'm a very family oriented person. I believed in family. And I was letting Mr. Nicholson come into my home to help me put the kids to sleep, but I was putting him out at night. And the girl across the street seen him sneaking out my house one night. And they were taking pictures, and women that I thought were my friends, women that helped me with my kids, women that were there for me, called Department of Social Services and told Department of Social Services that I was violating my stay away order. I was a very light young lady. I was a fresh face. With me and Dwayne being broken up, I'm a very loyal person. When social services came, I was confused. I was all the way confused. I was.
Do you see the pattern? Do you see the pattern?
Yes.
The generation that see. Do you see the pattern here?
Yes.
The situation with the social service with your mom. That now here it is. You grown and so that's where we have to try to we have to try to break those generations curses.
Yes.
We have to try to do that, and it can be done. It can be done.
And it didn't just start with me and my mom, because my grandmother, she wasn't raised by her biological mother. My grandmother was raised by a friend of the family, and genetically, I'm not alone. Out of all of my entire family, my grandmother and her kids are the only Longs in my family. I'm a Staten, a Pattyway, a Glover. You know, I'm genetically not a Long. I know nothing about the Longs. The only Longs that I can tell you about is my grandma, my mommy, my uncles, my aunties, and that's it. I can't tell you nothing about a Long. And like you said, the generation started with my great grandmother.
You know,
then
something happened with your grandmother's mother, where somebody had to raise See, are
Right.
y'all getting this? This is a
Right.
generational thing here. This is a now what
Absolutely.
you as a mother now, what you got to think of is ways and ways and things because you got a daughter.
Yes. I have
So
three
you
daughters
that's right, three
and a
daughters, right,
stepdaughter.
and a stepdaughter, right. So
Hmm.
now you got them daughters. Now you got to make sure that they don't follow
It.
your
Oh
mom.
no, 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 no,
That's
no.
that's right.
Mm-mm.
See that's where being honest.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm gonna ask you this. I'm gonna ask you this. Have you sat alone with your daughters and told them the truth?
Regularly.
Okay.
Regularly. We
Okay.
have open-ended conversations. When it comes down to honesty with my kids, the world has put blankets on these kids' eyes
Mhm.
with the social
Mhm.
media and what the social media fantasy of life is. I don't do that with my kids. And
Okay.
that's where I bump heads at with my in-laws. Because of the way that they grew up and the way that I grew up, to them it's, oh, she had an effed up life. That's why she always so disgruntled. No, I'm
Mhm.
defensive because for so many years I've been hurt. For so many years I've been crushed. I didn't grow up in the house with my daddy and my mommy and my
Mhm.
brothers and my siblings. And I didn't go to high school with everybody in the neighborhood and we just rode skates and bikes and had fun.
Mhm.
No, I didn't do any of that. When they were living life, I was in foster care. I was
Yeah.
trying to keep grown men from taking my little booty. One of my
Mhm.
foster homes, my foster brother started having sex with me regularly. When I found out I was pregnant, he thought it was his baby, you
Mhm.
know?
Mhm.
And they came and they took my kids from me. And they took them the same way that they took me from my mother.
See?
And my mother said to me before she got off the phone, "You will never understand until you have to go through it." And when she said that, it sent a black cloud through my phone because weeks later, I want to say she died that December, that February the 29th, it was a leap year. They came and they took my kids. They took my kids. I dropped my kids off at school. The young lady that rode with me to go with me to drop my kids off at school, she knew that they were picking my kids up because she was the person that called social services on me.
Get out of here.
She knew they were picking my kids up. There was a program going on at
See?
school. I
That's
wasn't going to take my kids to school that day. She was like, "Girl, come on, drop them kids off at school." I was like, "No, I'm going to let them stay home." She was like, "Girl, we got stuff to do. Drop them kids off at school." So
and
we went and
she
dropped
was
my
the one
kids
that
off
called
at
on
school.
you.
She called on me. I don't have no problem saying her name. She was a friend of mine. Her name was LaShonda Bryant. Um, she even portrayed like she was going to get my kids for me and all that. She was going to get my kids because they had put my kids in a foster home, and everyone was running frantic trying to figure out how they was going to help me get my kids back. She was going to meetings with me and stuff the whole time. She was writing reports about my life. At the time I was smoking weed and I completely went cold turkey. I stopped smoking weed. I was doing everything that they were telling me to do. I was going to all my classes. I
Mhm.
was doing what I was supposed to do because my kids were my strength. They was
Mhm.
all I had. I needed them. So after doing everything that I was supposed to do, my lawyer went and bought me a double-breasted suit. He went and bought me some shoes. He got my hair done. He said, "When you walk up in this courtroom, you gonna walk up in this courtroom and ain't no shadow of a doubt you walking up out of here with your kids." Lies they tell. Because on that day, their father knew. Their father knew my story. He knew my background. He knew that I fought him for my kids. He knew that the only way that he could break me in half was to have my kids taken from me. I found out that he was working with them to get my kids taken from me. When I first had my son, he was trying to convince me to allow his uncle to adopt my son so that he could grow up in a life of lavish that we couldn't give him because he wasn't ready to quit being a street nigga. I wouldn't agree with it. So that day, the judge allowed his attorney because when the drug testing things came back, he had cocaine in his system, marijuana in his system, alcohol in his system, everything. So his attorney says to the judge, I don't think that my client has had a fair fight to be able to fight for his children. Miss Long has been provided with counseling, therapy, drug classes, rehabilitation centers, and my client hasn't been offered with none of these things. The judge said, because Mr. Nicholson is requesting the opportunity to have the same chances that Ms. Long has had, that means obtain proper housing, go to drug rehab, give consecutive clean drug tests because they were pulling hair strings.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We have to give him the same opportunities, and they gave me 6 more months without my children to give him, the man that whooped me coming and going, the man that snatched me away from my mother's ceremony because my auntie didn't want him to stand in my grandmother's front yard and smoke a blunt because my great aunties and uncles was coming in the yard and they wasn't feeling the smell, because he wanted to snatch my kids, and because by law he could have taken my kids, and it was nothing that I could do because he is their biological father. And the law said that if he's not bringing no harm to the kids and he drive out the yard with the kids, is nothing they can do. I refuse to leave my kids with him because he knew. So I had to leave my mother's ceremony because of this man. I've lost my family because of this man. I was seeing people that I hadn't seen in 10 years because I was mentally brainwashed. And you're going to stand here in this courtroom and tell me that after I done fought 18 months, blood, sweat, and tears to get my kids back, that I can't have my kids back? I lost my mind in that courtroom. I sure did. I lost my mind. And when I lost my mind, it made me think about what my mama said. I fought for you with no support. I fought for you with nobody having my back. I fought for you with no family standing in my corner. And that's when I learned, when you walk in a courtroom with no type of support system, the system don't give 2 damns about you. Because if you don't have a support system, they feel like you have nobody to help you stand no type of ground. And his testimony was, I don't feel like she's going to be able to take care of my kids because I've been taking care. Me and my family been taking care of her for the last 10 years. Her family ain't never helped her. Her family ain't never been there for her. Who going to be there for her to be able to provide for my kids? She been a stay-at-home mom. She don't know how to work. She don't know how to go get no job. She go to mental health. You know who her mama is? Look at her background. She in the system herself. And they took all of those things into consideration.
I believe it.
They put my kids in a foster home. So in the mix of me going to the Department of Social Services and to the courthouse to visit my kids, Mr. Nicholson never shows up. I find out that the social worker who's heading my case is Mr. Nicholson's cousin. Not only that, the foster home that my kids are in, his grandma, God rest her soul, goes to see them every weekend. And I didn't feel like that was fair. So I flagged the foster home. Yes, I did. I was angry because my kids were my everything. And for you to have the opportunity to be a part of their life, and I don't, I'm their mama.
Right.
I was the one that got them 37 staples because I was the one that got them 2 C-sections and I can't see my kids. So I motioned the court to allow my kids to go and stay with one of my family members.
And that happened?
Biggest mistake I ever made in my life. Like when you said earlier.
But you didn't know. You didn't know.
Right.
You thinking ways that you can get them in another situation. You didn't have an idea. Whatever was going, you didn't have, so don't beat yourself up for that.
Oh, I don't know more because for 13 years, 13 long years, 13 years. When you hear a person say 13 years, you would think that they would give up. You would think they would walk away.
Mm-mm. You don't walk away from your children.
For 13 years, I fought blood, sweat, and tears for my kids. I rented cars and drove to North Carolina and knocked on the door to have the door closed in my face and be told that I couldn't see my kids. My godmother's husband, God rest his soul, he was always like a father to me. And when I asked them to get my kids, he was living. And I had not a word, not a worry, not a fear or nothing when it came down to me seeing my kids. He used to demand that I came and spend time with my kids. Every Sunday, it was my responsibility to come to the house, do my daughter hair for school, iron their clothes for 5 days, sit down and have dinner with them kids because that's what my godfather
That's right.
demanded.
That's right.
When my godfather passed away, my godmother turned into a completely different being, but she was still my kid's foster mother.
Yeah.
Um, my kids have been moved to Philly. My kids were abused. They were mentally abused. They were emotionally abused. They used to
You see
get
the
told
scenario? Do you see the scenario
it was
of
a it
how
was
when
a
they
re,
went into
it
a
was a
home?
re, it
They
was a repeat of
repeat
everything that I
exactly.
had went through. And I cried. They hit my hand for God on everything I love. I from 2009 till 2020, I never got a good night's sleep unless I was off something. I started snorting powder real bad. um when I was told that I had to wait that other 6 months to get my kids back, I stepped out of my shoes. I turned my back on the life that I had built for myself, and I ran back in the streets.
Oh
And I
wow.
was out there. Even though I was out there, my kids never seen me out there.
Okay, I
They
get
only knew what was going on in my life because adults talking
you.
down on me.
Mm-hmm.
When our kids are taken away from us, nobody going to love them like we do. Nobody's going to give them the guidance and the nurturing and the love and the compassion and the mental stability like we're going to give our kids.
Mm-hmm.
And that was all snatched away from my babies. But my daughter, let me tell you something. My daughter, when the first time I went to the Department of Social Services to see my kids, the social worker walked in. My daughter looked up and she looked back down. And she seen a second shadow. And she looked up and she looked back down. But when she looked back up, she said, "My mommy, my mommy, my mommy, my mommy." And at
Mm-hmm.
that very moment, I knew that there was nothing that nobody on the face of this earth could ever say to my child when it came down to me. Because it's been times my baby done got up and snuck on the phone 3, 4 o'clock in the morning just to say, "Mommy, I love you. We gonna be okay." Them
Mm-hmm.
13 years, Zakela Renee Nicholson is what I named her. My baby kept me. She kept my mind. My baby kept my soul.
Mm-hmm.
My baby kept me together. It
So
was
you see
times.
how it was when how it was the situation, how you was with your mom, how you was there for her. Look at how same thing your daughter, the same feeling, how she kept you calm. Yeah. Do you
My
see the
baby was my medicine. In
yeah?
my darkest days,
See.
she kept me together.
Mm-hmm.
In my
See.
absence from them, I got pregnant with my now 5-year old. I felt so bad because I got these babies and they in the system and they in a foster home technically because
But
now
why
I'm being
13?
told
But why 13 years? What happened that they had to be? They was in the system for 13 years.
money and greed. Money and greed. Um, when I was in the streets before my godfather passed away, my kid's foster father, it was nothing for me to go and drop money off to my godmother.
Okay.
I was dropping money off to her. My dad didn't even know I was dropping money off to her. It was nothing for me to go there with $300-400 worth of clothes for the kids because I
Mm-hmm.
was in the streets. I was doing street things. I was a
I get
hustler.
you. I get you.
And one night I got so high up that I went in the bathroom to get myself together. And I was looking in the mirror and I started seeing demons. And I seen my mother and she said, "Look
Oh.
at you, looking like your mama. You gone, girl." And I called my godmother and I said, "I gotta go. I said, if I don't go, I'm going to end up dead or in jail. I got to go. I had to go to court. Um, when I went to court, my attorney came running out the courtroom. She was wide open, full speed. She was running, running, running. She was like, I don't know what it is with you and this DA. She said, but come on, let's go in here right now. We not get, because I wanted a continuance, because I was about to flee. You hear me? I was about to go. Um, she said, we gonna hit trial this today. When I walked in the courtroom, the same district attorney that tried my mother's murder case was standing there. Due to tampering with evidence, the gentleman that was accused of killing my mother was able to walk away on May the 28th, 2000, I want to say 11. May the 28th, 2011. He was released. He was let out of jail. I had to testify because um, my mother called me. I heard when he was leaving. I heard him say to my mother, that's why you in the situation you is now, because of your mouth. And I heard a door slam. I was in prison at the time that I testified. That didn't make it no better, because I went to court to testify for my mom, who had a caseload this thick of assault with a
Yeah.
deadly weapon,
Mm-hmm.
murder. My mother was no, like, I put, knock on wood, I'm not bragging, Lord, I'm giving my testimony. I'll be 39 years old on the 21st of November, and I know of not one person that could stand up and say that they whooped my mother's behind. Because if she couldn't beat you, she was going to cut you.
Mm-hmm.
And her rap sheet alone helped him in his self-defense plea.
Oh, wow.
And my kids were with my godmother. She agreed for me to leave. I had a friend here in DC. She came and got me, and I came to DC, and I stopped snorting cold turkey. Um, I tried to get myself together, but people just kept downing me, talking bad on me, because I was here, and everybody want to know where these kids at. Coco, you got
Mm-hmm.
kids now. Coco, where
Mm-hmm.
these kids? And when I would share my story, I was frowned on. But I fought for my kids, and I got jobs, and I started working for this lady who knew a piece of my story, but not all of my story. And every 2 weeks, she would rent me a car, and I would come down, go to North Carolina, spend time with my kids. But once my money was gone, my godmother had no more use for me. So it'd be a big argument. I would have to leave my kids crying and everything. And I would not live my life. I wouldn't live my life. I was living here in DC. I've never been to the White House. I've never been to the monument, because these are all things that I wanted to do with my kids.
Yeah.
And everybody that I came encounter with knew that girl want her kids, because that was my thing. The biggest goal that I set for myself was my kids. When I got pregnant with my now 5-year old, I felt miserable. I didn't know what to do with myself, because what are my kids going to think? I didn't care about nobody
Exactly.
else. What are
Mm-hmm.
my kids going to think? And my daughter said to me, she said, Mommy, you have my brother or my sister. She said, because regardless of what, we love you. And can't nobody take that away. My
That's right.
son, on the other hand, they had gotten to my son because my son's athletic. He plays football. So he had all the shoes, and DJ get to do whatever he want to do, and he's going to be the star. He's the rising star. So it was DJ, DJ, DJ. But in the background, my baby felt unloved. And I made it my business to let her know you're loved. And she
Mm-hmm.
used to call me, and she used to say, Mommy, I don't want to be here no more. And that was my motivation. And I got myself together.
There
And
you
when
go.
I had that little girl, I had that little girl. And I was staying in the shelter because I fell down a flight of steps, and I was dying.
Mm.
And all I could think about was, because when I fell down a flight of steps, I was bleeding so much internally, my organs was drowning. My baby was drowning. And all I could remember was, I got kids. I gotta live. I got kids. And as I was laying there on that table, I remember Mom telling me, call on Jesus. I don't care what it is. If you can't get nothing else out, get Jesus out, and the devil gonna
Shut
flee.
your mouth.
And I felt like the devil was taking me. And I remember that doctor saying, we gonna lose one of them if we don't cut her open now. And they didn't have no time to prep me or nothing. But after 9 hours of being in recovery and having every organ in my body taken out to be pat down to make sure that it wasn't ruptured, I'm here. That little girl was born with my soul in her hand and my heart in the other hand, but we're here.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had that little girl, it reopened up my sense of mind of parenting.
Okay. Uh-oh. I don't know what happened, y'all. Oh, she swiped something. Okay.
He chased me for 4 years and I wouldn't give him the time of day. And one day I made a post about my kids that were in North Carolina. And he told me, he said, every time I see you post something, it's sad. He said, come on, I want to take you out. You and the baby. I'm going to take y'all out. Y'all come spend the weekend with me. And, it's nothing sexual, nothing like that. I just want to show you that it's genuine people out here in the world and everybody ain't out to get you. So I was like, okay, man, fine. Okay, I'm going to give you a chance. 4 years you've been chasing me. The first time I met this man, I wouldn't give him the time of day because he want a thug.
That's what because that's what you was used to in the
I was street
yeah.
branded. I was used to being a Ruby. I'm used to being with blood guys, and I was gang banging, and I was doing things. And
Oh wow.
he said to me, "I'm gonna make you my wife," and this was a result of being in foster care because one of my foster brothers, he was a blood, and he banged, and yeah, I that's what my brother do, so that's what I'm gonna do, and I got down, and that's just what it was. And when I left North Carolina, I had to go through a series of things in order to regain control of my life.
That's what I was getting ready to ask you and summing this and ending this up.
Mm-hmm.
The precocious now. Where are you now mentally? Where
I am a happily married wife. Yes, I am. We go through our ups and downs, but
everybody does.
that's life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, November the 13th, 2020, a judge here in Washington, D.C., after having my kids shipped when COVID started,
Mm-hmm.
um, the kids were out of school. So you had to be a full-time parent. One no school, one no sending
Yeah.
nobody nowhere.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Parents were stuck in the house to be parents.
Yeah.
And that wasn't what my godmother signed up for. So she sent my kids up here to spend 2 weeks with me. And after 2 weeks, my kids said, Mommy, we don't want to go back.
Wow.
And I asked her, could they stay for the summer? And she let them stay for the summer, which was the biggest blessing that she could have ever given me. Because by me having them up here for a consecutive 6 weeks, I was able to file custody for my children in Washington, D.C. And when I told the judge everything that I have been going through, and when I was able to submit paperwork to show that I've been contacting courts, lawyers, judges, writing letters, knocking on doors, written calls, sending money orders. Right now, I have a child support case on my head that is backed up for $20,000 because the system failed to fully investigate. And they went based upon the word of the foster mother to say, I don't know where she is. She left. I don't talk to her. We don't know where she at. But even with all of that, I was able to regroup myself.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I want my story to be heard because out of everything that I've gone through, foster home, pillar to post, rape, molestation, having my kids taken from me, it's no such thing as I can't. I tell my kids, I can't is not a word that is
Okay.
supposed to be in your
That's right.
vocabulary
That's
at
right.
all whatsoever. Because after seeing everything your moms went through with the system, me being in foster care, y'all being in foster care, and where
Yes.
we are today, I have
Yes.
all my babies, all
Ain't
four of
that
my
something?
babies. And I have a stepson that I've been helping my husband raise for the last 4 years. And
Mm-hmm.
I have a stepdaughter, and we're when you come into a kid's life and they're already at adolescent state, especially when you your daddy's only love, and now
Yeah.
come this lady
Yeah.
and this
I
little
get it.
baby, we
Mm-hmm.
bump our heads. But where me and my baby at today, we got a bond that can't nobody come between.
Mm-hmm.
Me and Kamani got an understanding. Me and Kevin Jr. got an understanding. And that's why I tell anybody, I don't have 4 kids. I got 6 kids.
Got six
And
kids.
those are my babies.
That's
Today,
exactly.
ProKoshia won that long Opher. You
Yes.
couldn't tell me that I've been through any of the trials and tribulations that I've been through, because my story is a success story. Today, I'm working on a nonprofit called Rebuilding the Bridge to the Village, because it takes a
Wow.
village, and it takes a stern bridge to carry us across to that
And it's
village.
say that again. It's called what now?
Rebuilding the Bridge to the Village. I'm working with a gentleman by the name of Michael Campbell. Mr. Campbell is giving me an opportunity to be a part of a group that he's developing entitled Voice, it's Rising Voices of Politics. I'm a
Wow.
brand ambassador. I'm also a advocate here in Washington, D.C. for the Ward A area. I'm looking to expand into different wards.
Okay,
My
you're an
family,
advocate for.
I'm a advocate for the youth. I'm a
Okay.
youth advocate.
Okay.
My son is the co-captain for the Blue football team. I am team mom for the Blue football team. I have been class mom for 3 years for my stepson's class. I'm class mom for my baby girl's class in the elementary school they go to. The person that I am today, I take
Yes.
everything. Some days, now don't get me wrong, I have my days, I have my good days, I have my bad days, I have my
Mm-hmm.
worry days. But through it all, I got God.
Mm-hmm.
And I thank God for my little brother's dad, Mr. Keith Lasco. You know, I always tell you, you gonna always be my dad despite everything that we went through, because you brought your mother in my life. And without that lady, I don't know where I would be, because she taught me how to call on Jesus.
Ain't this
And
something?
throughout everything that I've been through, I could be in the house chilling with the boys, cutting up. And if I feel like something ain't right, I start saying Bible verse. They be like, "Oh Lord, here she go. Y'all don't play with me. Y'all better get it together with y'all spirit and y'all energy."
What would you
Yes.
what would you say, and we're gonna end it here. What would you say to someone that has been or is going through something similar, or just going through just the foster care system with the children? What would what can you what would you say that will uplift them or empower them? What would you say to them?
Always remember, what you're going through, it's always somebody else going through what you're going through, if not worse. If you're in a foster home and the foster parents are not doing what they are supposed to, we have advocates. We have voice advocates now. If you feel like you are scared and you don't want to tell someone, you find you somebody that you can confide in. Don't hold it in. You tell someone,
Hmm.
because holding it in can destroy you in so many ways, emotionally, mentally, physically. Abuse is real. Abuse is not just putting your hands on someone. Abuse is mental, it's emotional,
Hmm.
verbal abuse. What Mama J was saying earlier, verbal abuse is it's abuse.
Yeah.
It's abuse.
Yes. When you belittle a child, yes, it is.
you know and we all have our stepping stones that we need to get to, but what we have to realize is our youth is screaming for our love.
Surely
These
is.
babies not out here acting up and doing the things that they're doing just because they want someone to love them. You got all these babies in group homes and things. Take the time to love somebody. I live in Washington, D.C., and it's kids up here. I tell my kids all the time, you have no clue how many homeless kids you go to school with. Always take into consideration how the
Hmm.
next person feels, because Mommy was a kid that went to school with other kids. They went home to their mother and father every day. And I went home to a foster family every day. So
Mm-hmm.
always take into consideration another person's feelings, because you never know what a person is going through. Get to know someone before you begin to judge someone, because you never know what background they came from. You never know why they feel like they feel, and you never know why their emotions are the way that they are.
Mm-hmm.
Love one another, and most of
Exactly.
all, pray.
Pray.
Pray,
That's it.
pray,
That's,
pray,
that's
pray,
it right
pray,
there.
pray,
Most of all, pray.
pray,
Well,
pray.
I thank you. I thank you for coming up here. You was very, very transparent. We went
I
over
thank
our
you.
we went over our time, but it's okay because I was not going to stop you and and shut it down. That's disrespectful. You're sharing your story and telling your story. Now I do apologize. If it lasted long like this, but no, I was not going to. No, we got to stop. No, I was not going to do that because you was telling your story and sharing your story, and I appreciate that because it's somebody that's going to listen at this, that's going to take the time and sit and listen to it. It's 2 hours. I'm sorry about that, y'all. We usually have about an hour, um, but somebody going to look at this, and it's going to hit home for somebody, and it's going to inspire them to get up and do something that can help them get out of whatever they're dealing with. You see what I'm saying? Because
Hmm.
just knowing how you land up on the table and your organs had to be taken out to save your life. See, that's power. That's a testimony. And I thank you. I thank you. Now, is the foster care system broken? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. It's broken to a certain extent
Hmm.
because now I gotta say it's broken to a certain extent because now you can't blame everything on the foster care system
Mm-mm.
because what people have to understand, you the individual have to do your part also. You
Right,
have to do that. The only thing that the workers can do is give you your plan. Now, if you don't do that,
right.
it's not. They ain't gonna get mad at the person because now they come and get your kids. It's not no, it's not perfect. It's not. But now, would you believe currently it is 400,000 children?
Yes.
I ain't say 400, I said
Mm-mm. 400,000.
400,000
Yes.
children in the foster care system in North Carolina.
Just alone. So imagine the other states.
And California, Illinois, and Texas are the three with the highest amount of children. Let me make sure I say that right because I'm gonna get my
Hmm.
statistics right. Let me get them right because if I can try to say I'm lying about nothing.
Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. California in 2021 to 2022, 2021, 2019 to 2022, they are at 21,000. Okay, they have 21,000 just in the system just due to abuse. That's Florida, that's Texas,
Mm-mm.
Florida, Indiana, Illinois. They're the leading states of that. Now, is the foster care system broken in the U.S.? Half of our foster youth nationwide don't graduate, and less are able, less are able to learn to earn money from working. Some of them do earn money from working. 1 in 5 will enter the homeless population,
Yep.
and 1 in 4 will be involved with the law system, usually after leaving the foster care system. So, to
Yep.
me, it's broken there. It's broken, but it still depends on the individual. It
Yep.
still depends on the individual because you was in it, you dealt with it. To me, you pulled yourself right up out of them gutters because you was in there. I mean, that's what you said it yourself. You was out.
Yeah. I was.
You pulled your own stuff
I
up out of
was.
there. There ain't nobody's perfect. You fought tooth and nail to get your kids. I commend you for that.
Thank
13 years.
you.
Yeah, you could have gave up. You could have said, you know what, I ain't going through this. But see, you didn't do that. You didn't do that. They probably kept telling you to do this, telling you to do this.
Yep.
Did everything they were telling you to do. It took you 13 years, but that's okay. You took them 13 years to get yourself together too. So you can be the mother for
Yes.
them.
Yes.
Okay, so you can be the mother for them. I want y'all to get this. Those watching replay, understand this. Yeah, it took. Don't look at it. Don't bash her because it took 13 years. What you got to look at, she didn't give up,
Right.
and she took. Now she went through whatever she went through, but after she finished, she came through like she is today. So
Indeed.
she can be the mother she's supposed to be for her children. Because what if she would have got them way for 13 years? What would have happened? Because she wasn't ready. Things was going on in her life that had her mentally not ready. And I get it. So I know people be trying to judge. I
Yeah.
understand it too. I understand that. But you did the right thing. You fought for your children, and I commend you for that. And y'all gonna be fine. Y'all gonna be fine. I thank you for coming up here. Like I
Thank you
said,
for
y'all,
having
I'm
me.
sorry we went over an hour, but I was not, and I will not cut across none of my guests to shut something down because I went over an hour. I would never do that to you or
Thank
to
you.
anybody. Just want to let y'all know that I would never do that. We gonna still we I'm gonna let my guests still have their conversation. That's just me. With that being said, I love you, ProKoshia.
I love you
Love
too.
you. I love you. I love you. And it was a reason why we're back into one another's lives at all these years. It is
Yes.
because I knew when I first saw you, I said to myself, I know her, but I didn't want to say anything. You see what I'm saying?
You did. You waited for me to say something
Yeah,
first.
yeah, I did.
You
I did,
did.
y'all. I did. But I waited. I want to make sure. I want to make sure because some people you just don't forget. Some people you just don't forget. And I
Right.
didn't forget you. I
And
didn't.
I couldn't forget you neither.
I didn't. I didn't forget you. And I thank you for that. Because she told y'all, Miss J, that yeah. And by the way, yes, that's what I did. That was what I was doing years ago. Yes, social worker. Yes. That's what my degree is in. But anyway, we're getting ready to end it. Thank you, sweetheart. I
Thank
hope the
you.
encouraging words you have said to people, somebody gonna listen, somebody gonna get something out of this. All right.
All right. Have a
I
good
love
night.
you, sweetheart.
Bye
Have a
bye.
good one, baby. All right.
You too.
All right. Bye bye. Y'all have a good one. Bye bye.